Welcome back to Royal Vault UK, where we uncover the untold emotions, hidden choices, and defining moments behind the British crown. Tonight, we open the doors to a story that has quietly stirred the heart of the monarchy. A story of love, duty, and the price of tradition. It began with a single decision one made by Prince William, a decision that quietly broke a rule older than his title. And through it all stood Princess Catherine, whose silent tears revealed the emotional cost of standing beside the future king. Behind the serene smiles and perfect poise lies a private moment that tested their bond, their faith in the institution, and the unspoken limits of royal love. To understand the weight of what happened, we must return to the roots of William and Catherine's journey, a love story that began far from the throne and grew beneath the watchful eyes of tradition. From the very beginning, Catherine Middleton was seen as the commoner who won the prince's heart. Yet within the walls of Buckingham Palace, her presence was both a symbol of change and a test of endurance. The royal family, shaped by centuries of rigid protocol, expects perfection, quiet strength, polished composure, and unshakable duty. But Catherine's grace was never just performance. It was resilience shaped by scrutiny. In the early years of her royal life, she learned that silence could speak louder than defense. Her calm demeanor became her shield, and William's unwavering support became her anchor. Over time, however, the quiet harmony they built began to clash with the echoes of the past. Tradition demanded conformity, but love demanded compassion. And when the two forces finally collided, even the walls of Windsor seemed to hold their breath. It was a cold morning at Windsor when the first whispers began. According to palace insiders, Prince William had quietly refused to follow a long-standing royal tradition, one that dictated how future queens must appear during an upcoming state ceremony. For decades, every royal consort before Catherine had worn a specific ensemble chosen by the palace's ceremonial office, symbolizing unity with the crown rather than individuality. But this time, William insisted that his wife would choose her own attire, a simple but deeply meaningful gesture that challenged an age-old system. To the outside world, it was a trivial matter of clothing. Inside Buckingham Palace, it was seen as defiance. Reports revealed that senior courtiers described the move as an unnecessary disruption to royal harmony. Behind closed doors, the atmosphere grew tense. Meetings were held. Advisors debated whether the couple's choice might send a dangerous message that personal emotion could outweigh royal order. In those quiet corridors, William's voice remained calm but firm. He was said to have told one senior aide, "Catherine has given this family her life. The least we can give her is the freedom to be herself." That single line, though never spoken in public, spread through the palace like a silent storm. Catherine, as always, stood gracefully beside him. But within her private quarters, she was seen pausing before a mirror, her eyes heavy with thought. Those who know her describe that moment as one of quiet heartbreak, not because of the dress, but because of the message it carried, that love, even in the highest of places, must sometimes stand against the weight of tradition. When the day of the ceremony arrived, the world watched closely. Catherine stepped out of the royal car, in a soft blue gown of her own, choosing elegant, modest, but unmistakably personal. The cameras flashed. The crowd cheered. Yet behind her poised smile was a storm of emotion. Observers noted that Prince William reached for her hand as they entered the grand hall, a gesture not part of royal protocol, but a declaration of quiet solidarity. It was the kind of human moment that no royal rulebook could contain. As the national anthem played, Catherine's eyes glistened under the chandeliers. For a brief second, she looked toward William, and the expression that passed between them was one of unspoken gratitude and exhaustion. A promise fulfilled. A stand made. According to sources close to the couple, there was tension in the aftermath. Some senior figures in the household reportedly viewed William's act as reckless, a modern prince bending centuries-old symbols for the sake of sentiment. Others quietly admired his courage, calling it the first real glimpse of the monarchy's future. And for Catherine, that day would be remembered not for what she wore but for what it meant. That for the first time in decades, love had stood taller than ritual. In the days that followed, silence once again filled the palace. There were no official statements, no corrections, no acknowledgments. But behind that quiet facade, the effects of William's decision rippled through every level of the royal household. For some, it was a sign of strength, the image of a future king who could balance heart and heritage. For others, it was a warning, a sign that modern emotions were beginning to erode the sacred line of royal order. According to sources close to Kensington Palace, the Queen Consort maintained a dignified silence, while senior aides held a series of private meetings to assess public reaction. What they found surprised them. Public sentiment overwhelmingly favored William and Catherine. Newspapers across Britain ran headlines praising the princess's quiet grace and William's devotion. One editorial in the Times wrote, "In a monarchy built on spectacle, the most powerful statement is often restraint. Catherine reminded us that compassion can be royal too." But beyond admiration, the moment sparked a deeper conversation about what the monarchy should represent in the 21st century. Was it still a fortress of tradition, or could it become a reflection of the people it served? Royal commentators began drawing parallels between Catherine and the late Princess Diana. Both women, they noted, had shown that empathy was not weakness, but power in another form. The difference this time was that William stood beside his wife, not behind her. Privately, insiders say King Charles understood his son's position more than anyone realized. He, too, had once been torn between tradition and emotion, and though the methods differed, the struggle was the same. It is said that Charles quietly told a confidant, "Perhaps this is what the monarchy must learn, that love and dignity can live in the same room." For Catherine, the emotional weight lingered longer than the headlines. Her quiet tears were never seen in public again, but those close to her say she carried that moment as a reminder that being royal is not about crowns or ceremony, but about grace under the heaviest expectations imaginable. Through it all, William remained steadfast, protective, reflective, and deeply aware that every choice he made now shaped the institution he would one day lead. And while the palace returned to its routine of rituals and decorum, something subtle had changed. An invisible line had been redrawn between tradition and humanity. In the stillness of Buckingham's long corridors, time moved quietly on. The flowers from the ceremony had long faded. The debates had ended. But the memory of that moment of William's defiance and Catherine's silent tears remained. For those who serve within the palace, it was a reminder that even in a world built on rules, hearts still beat beneath the crowns. For those who watched from afar, it was a glimpse of something profoundly human, the balance between duty and love that defines every royal generation. History will not remember the color of Catherine's gown, nor the brief tension it caused behind the gates of Buckingham. It will remember the look in her eyes, calm, resolute, and filled with emotion that words could never quite capture. It will remember William's hand reaching for hers, a gesture so small and yet so powerful that it redefined what strength could look like in the House of Windsor. Perhaps that is how the monarchy endures, not by resisting change, but by allowing moments like these to soften its edges. Because in the end, tradition may guide the crown, but love, compassion, and quiet courage are what keep it alive. As the evening light falls upon the palace windows, one truth remains: even behind the grandeur, even beneath the weight of history, the royal story is, and has always been, a story of hearts learning how to serve, to endure, and to feel. And somewhere in that delicate silence, Princess Catherine's quiet tears remind the world that humanity, not perfection, is the crown's truest inheritance.